Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is Thursday, May 28th, and I'm going to call this regular meeting of the Winchester School Committee to order at 12:03 p.m. Welcome. Hope everyone is doing well in this last week of May-cember. We are going to start today with public comment, which will be for a period of 20 minutes. If there's anyone who would like to speak during this virtual meeting, you'll identify yourself by raising your digital hand, and then when we elevate you, you will identify yourselves by name and address and speak for no longer than 3 minutes. All remarks are addressed through the chair, and public comment is not intended to be a discussion, debate, or dialogue between residents and the committee. It's just an opportunity for folks to express their opinion on issues related to school committee business. If you have a comment that is longer than 3 minutes, we're happy to have you present that to the committee after the meeting, and we will review it and incorporate it into the meeting record following the meeting. So at this time, I see there are not many attendees, but if there is anyone who's here for public comment, if you could raise your digital hand, that would be great. Ms. Minyarji, I'd ask, is it possible for you to keep time today?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. All right, so Jason, let's elevate Jason, who raised his hand.
Got it.
Okay, great. Let's see, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Mr. Chair, I appreciate your time. My name is Jason Roeder. I live at 8 Sheffield West here in Winchester, and today I'm sharing a public comment related to the carriage house property. I wanted to, I guess, in this moment, kind of give the committee and the school superintendent a heads up or information regarding some work that the Winchester Historical Society is doing. So I am not a board member of the Historical Society, but I am working with the president, Electra Gavani, and board member Bill Swanton on some efforts, community efforts, to see if there's something that can be done with the carriage house. We have, due to encouragement from the WCCP, we did file a preliminary application with the WCCP for CPA funding for a modest amount to support some initial feasibility studies and architectural work, perhaps, to understand what the potential for the carriage house is. Part of their process is that when a town property is in the mix, or when a grant is being applied for a town property, the town entity with control and jurisdiction over that land or property needs to be in support of the application and either co-sponsor it or add a letter of support as part of the application. So we are coming to you now, and we'll provide something in more detailed very soon in the form of a draft, maybe a letter or an MOU that would, we imagine, define sort of, and hopefully, codify your support of what we're trying to do, and also define, your support of maybe some logistics around, repeated access to the property and things of that nature. So I was kind of hoping we'd have a full draft for you today, but I don't have that. And unfortunately, Bill and Electra couldn't get here quite on time at 12 o'clock. So we'll be sending that to you soon, probably not tomorrow, I don't think, but hopefully next week. The WCCP deadline is June 15th, so hopefully we have a little time to come back to your next meeting and, of course, have dialogue and discussion between now and then on this topic. So that's what I wanted to share with this group today. Thank you for your time. I would also just note that in working with Mr. Marin, we have arranged to have a fence installed around the carriage house to improve the security of that spot, and that fence is due to be installed tomorrow morning.
Mr. Roeder, your 3 minutes are up, so just your final statement, please.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If there's anyone else that wanted to raise their hand, now would be the time to do it. I'll leave another 30 seconds or so, and then we will move on to the remainder of the agenda. Mr. Bilton.
All right, Greg, you got 3 minutes. Starting now. Or maybe not.
I think we need to still elevate him.
He's elevated. He's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greg, you're muted.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Bilton.
Sorry, this is my first time doing it by Zoom, so I'm just working through things here.
We get it.
Hi, ooh, I'll do my video too. Thank you very much. I wasn't expecting to speak on this, but based on the prior comment, I just wanted to remind the committee that the Historical Commission said that there would be no public funds used in the carriage house renovation. It sounded like they were looking for CPA funds. With your support, I would just remind the committee of that. What I wanted to speak to on today was related to what's on the agenda, class sizes and fees. As a parent of a rising fourth grader in VO, and I'm speaking in my personal capacity, not as president of the VO Parents Association. So I'm a little concerned that's one of the class sizes that's above kind of target and running dangerously close to the contractual maxes. So I've just been following this very closely, and also on the fees. I just wanted to encourage the entire school committee. When it comes to fees, it's been my understanding through, attending meetings over the past year that extracurriculars can be privately fundraised for, whereas kind of in-school things, it's very difficult to privately fundraise for. I would encourage the school committee to max out on the contributions, family contributions for athletic fees as much as possible. I know that a lot of our parents in our community would love to privately fundraise to add teachers to the school, but I know that that's not feasible. So I would encourage not using budget money for athletics at the expense of kind of in-class stuff. I don't say that lightly. I know you guys are trying the best you can, and we really appreciate it. I owe every opportunity I've been given to my high school athletic career. So I don't take that lightly, but given that private fundraising can be used for athletics and not for in-class stuff, I would strongly encourage you to use the budget for in-class stuff and to increase the family contributions for athletics as much as possible. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bilton. If there is anyone else, again, now is the time to raise your digital hand. Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment at this time and thank both of our public commenters for coming to our meeting and sharing the information that you shared with us today. As always, the committee does appreciate hearing from members of the community on issues that are before us, and we take all of the comments that we receive into account and look forward to our next opportunity to hear from the community at our next meeting. We're going to move on to agenda item 3 today, which is comments and items of communication from our superintendent and chair. And as I don't have anything beyond just an update on the fact that our budget subcommittee did meet yesterday, we have our policy subcommittee meeting tomorrow. And in the interest of knowing we're somewhat time limited again in our ongoing season of Maycember, I will just say many thanks to the work of the budget subcommittee yesterday, as well as to the upcoming work that will be done by our policy subcommittee. And then I will hand it over to the superintendent for his remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. I also don't really have any remarks. We've got, I know we've got some hard stops with all of you today, so I just turn it over. Just a reminder that high school graduation is next Friday, and you are all invited to attend. So just if you could let Ms. Konis know at the high school, or let me know and I'll let her know so that she has a sense of the attendance. So.
And Dr. Hackett, if you could also let us know, there's a middle school graduation or moving up ceremony as well that's coming up, possibly before our next meeting.
There is, but I didn't bring it up on purpose because I don't have the date off the top of my head.
I think it's June 25th.
I was going to say, it actually may not be before I might
It's
have
after,
spoken.
right?
I don't think it's before our next meeting. I think it's afterwards, but just so that it's on folks' radars. So it's high school next Friday, a week from tomorrow, and then we believe June 25th for the middle school.
Because it was like the day before school ended.
Yes, we
Okay.
don't want to have the 8th graders running around all graduated too early. So
That's right.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So moving right along to item 4 on the agenda today, that's our consent agenda. We have 5 items on this to approve today. Ms. Bolognese, is this an accurate reflection of the minutes that we have in front of us today?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to verify because I know there was some last minute movement on trying to get as many of these as possible included. So we have 5 sets of minutes from April 2nd, 9th, 14th, 16th, and 27th to approve in the packet, as well as the legal services contract with our district's legal counsel, which the committee also received information on in its packet. Mr. Marin, I believe you can give us a sentence or two on the distribution of funds to our class of 2026, which comes before us every year, as well as extending our thanks to WIFI as well as the Red Cross for a grant and a scholarship as included in the packet for today. So Mr. Marin, if you have a comment or two on the disbursement of funds, that would be great, just to especially bring our newest member up to speed on this.
I went through this process, but
good. Okay. All right. That's right, Mr. Belair. You've got a leg up on the rest of us. Mr. Marin, if you want to just briefly explain what's going on with that, that would be great.
Good afternoon, everyone. So this is a process we go through every year, and we work with the different classes to essentially give them the money back that they've raised, and then they can use it for future, meetups or reunions that they do with those classes. So a while back, we revised this as part of our student activities manual that the school committee adopted, and so this is just following that process that we do annually.
I just have a quick question. If you want to plan a 30-year or your 20-year reunion, how is that money being saved? So that way you're keeping up with inflation at least.
Yeah, so what we do, so those who coordinate the class, they have to get a bank account, and then we essentially give them a check that they deposit into that bank account, and then they become responsible for those funds and managing it. So if it's still available by the 30th reunion, that would be on them to see how they spend it, I guess. Yeah.
The class of 2021 has its 5-year reunion coming up this fall, which we're super excited about. And I think most classes will bank with Winchester Savings just because they've been through this process with us or another local bank as well.
I hope there's a favorable rate on those investment vehicles.
All right. Are there any other questions on the consent agenda? Otherwise, I would accept a motion around the consent agenda for today.
So moved.
Oh, Mr. Belair.
I just want to make a comment around the WIFI grant. Like, that's specifically a student application from Morocco 5th graders to build an outdoor classroom with some of the space they have with an interior courtyard by the cafeteria. And I just think that that's really awesome that current students and also WIFI are partnering together to support helping students, be engaged in the shaping of their education. So just wanted to highlight that as a great example of community involvement.
Yeah, and I think a great role for our partners at WIFI to help us play. I know that while we were looking at the use of the Morocco Life Extension funds last summer to try and make some improvements around the building, it was noted that both of the courtyards were not in the best of shape. And so to be able to do that is a great thing and great initiative on the part of our student community. All right, Ms. Bolognese has made a motion to accept the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Minyarji. So because we are online, we will take a roll call vote. I'll start with Mr. Belair.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Hopcroft.
Aye.
Ms. Bolognese.
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, so that is unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody, and especially to WIFI and the Red Cross. Moving along to item 4, our reports and action items. We are going to start with consideration of support for state funding. Mr. Belair has actually drafted a letter to state legislators on behalf of our public access organization in town, which is something that I know you're all somewhat aware of from the override process and state of the town. But we are obviously having faced a failure of the override. We are in a position where the supplemental funding that would have gone to our public access media organization, which is a great service to the work that we do here in Winchester, making sure that our meetings are publicly available for folks to watch in real time as well as on demand. They're facing a significant budget crunch, especially with the changing way in which cable access revenues are generated. I'm the school committee's designated representative to the committee that oversees this on a periodic basis. And I know that obviously, while we've been successful at coming to terms on that, the amount of funding that comes through that, which has historically been what funds our public access media, is significantly curtailed as folks cut the cord. So definitely needing to look at potential new models for making sure that the great work that these organizations do in communities across the Commonwealth continues. So I'll hand it over to Mr. Belair briefly to actually speak about what he has drafted and to have us hopefully have a somewhat brief discussion about how we might use that as a vehicle to support our public access media organization. Mr. Belair.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Matthews. You teed it up pretty nicely. Essentially, there's a state policy in the works right now, which essentially imposes an assessment on streaming providers to fill that budget hole that a lot of community access media providers have, and it creates a streaming entertainment fund that will be used to support organizations such as WinCam. So ahead of the deadline to submit testimony, which was on Tuesday, I drafted this and sent it as an individual to the Joint Committee on Economic Development and Emerging Technologies, as well as our state delegation. And I think the action we're looking for now is just to have potentially the rest of the school committee join as kind of a show of support for WinCam and the great work they do to move that forward to our elected officials on Beacon Hill.
So moved. I think this is great. I'm sad that we can't add our names to your testimony. Mr. Matthews, do you want to continue?
I'm happy to. So you've made a motion.
Second.
Great. Ms. Bolen, I say seconded. Is there any discussion, further discussion?
I just would also say that I really appreciate the work of WinCam especially over the years, and especially coming through or having high school students and being able to see being able to have family members from around the country, being able to see tap into WinCam and being able to see games, different programs, some of the concerts, etc. It's a great resource, and so I would definitely support this.
That's great. So I will actually just say for those that made the motion, I'd just like to put in a friendly amendment, which is that I'd like to, since Mr. Belair is the one who submitted the testimony on his own individual behalf, I would love to have the committee authorize him to reach back out and just say that he has the full support or whatever number of members vote in favor support of the school committee to sort of underline the good testimony that he submitted, as well as maybe we could just ask him to reach out to our state delegation, are the 4 folks who are currently representing Winchester, and just highlight the fact that the school committee stands behind that testimony as well. And hopefully they can highlight that in the work that they do around this issue on Beacon Hill. So if the motion maker and seconder would accept that friendly amendment, I would be appreciative.
Accepted.
Second.
All right. Sounds great. All right. So unless there's further discussion, I'm happy to take a roll call vote on support of this motion, starting with Mr. Belair.
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft?
Aye.
Ms. Bolanese?
Aye.
Ms. Binyarji?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So my presumption that we would be in favor is correct. So Mr. Belair, you are authorized on our behalf to do all the things we just said. Thank you so much for taking the lead on this. We really appreciate it. And again, just to reiterate, we really do appreciate the heroic work that WinCam does to bring as many meetings as possible to the community in Winchester. All right, so moving right along to item 4B, we're going to go into our update from the budget subcommittee yesterday on proposed fees for FY27. Mr. Marin, if maybe it makes sense to click on the link or do it this way so that you can just sort of see. I will just preface this by saying that the budget subcommittee yesterday voted 2-0 to bring this model forward as our recommended approach to the full school committee for how to deal with our athletic fees for the coming year. In summary, you will see in cell I-34, that's India 34, a remaining deficit of $61,892 using the fee model that we've represented. I'll let Mr. Marin walk through the levels that we came to. But it is anticipated that through efficiencies, particularly around transportation, some changes that should be not terribly impactful, we will be able to get our deficit down to zero so that the amount of money that was envisioned with a successful override to continue funding fees to continue rather subsidizing, reducing the fees that our families have to pay will be covered in the override failure scenario so that we will not have a deficit in our budget that we need to make further program or human resource cuts in order to address. So the goal that we had here was twofold. One of them was to close the deficit to as close to zero as possible in terms of building the override failure budget. And also to try and maintain as much as possible the programs that we offer. There were sort of two levers available to us as a budget subcommittee. One of them was to reduce program or staffing around sports. And we made the decision that it was probably more in the district's interest to continue the programming that our students participate in across athletics. And to close the deficit by increasing our fees. And of course, that was twofold as well. So we're raising, as you see in India 3, by 50% the base fee, as well as in the table that's shown between columns C and I, rows 27 to 32 to increase both. We've already previously voted to remove the family cap and also now adding facility fee surcharges for the total list of sports where we have external money that the district, the Winchester Public Schools, have to pay for facility costs for these 5 sports. So the 5 sports that have facility fees added as part of this model are hockey, swimming, tennis, golf, and skiing. And in the case of skiing, it will actually just be that families are purchasing a season pass largely for their students instead of the district funding those ski season passes for families. Mr. Marin, I didn't intend to do all that, but I ended up just sort of getting going and saying everything. So is there anything I missed in terms of summarizing where we were at yesterday at Budget Subcommittee?
I think that was a great recap. I'll just put the kind of asterisk. This is assuming we have the same level of participation next year. And so that participation number is based on kind of averages. And that was folks who had paid fees or met that family cap before. So that is what the fees are then calculated on and all these assumptions. So that's kind of the base, and we'll see where registrations come in next year.
All right. So with that, I will turn it over to the committee for questions. Ms. Minyarji, you might have some, I should have said, you might have something to say from yesterday as well.
Yeah, no, I think you did a good job summarizing it. I was just, so what is the decision-making process for cutting a program? So for example, say there is low enrollment in one program. Who determines what that threshold is, saying that we have low enrollment, so we're going to cut this program? Or maybe because of the increased cost, maybe just because of, reduced interest. Either way, who makes that decision?
So we've not had that scenario before. So there is no decision tree specifically, but we work closely with the athletic director. I could envision, or there could be times when we don't run as many levels, but I don't believe we've ever actually fully cut an actual program. So how the levels that we run, how many teams we have, those kinds of decisions are analyzed every single year. But we have never had a conversation since I've been here about actually eliminating a program. We've never had participation that has been low enough to warrant that discussion.
Yeah, I was at a recent coalition meeting and a statistic was thrown out. I don't know how recent the statistic is, but that 90% of our high school students participate in sports. And
I wouldn't
district.
question that statistic because I don't know where it came from, but we have a very high participation rate, is no question.
I've heard
just
that
curious
over
about
the
the-
years, and I've heard that over the years that it's a very high percentage that participates in high school sports.
Yeah, if we can get that number, that would be great. Just curious, because if
Right.
it appears like this will impact, I guess, 90% of our students.
I don't know how to raise my hand, but if I could ask a question here.
Of course, Mr. Hopcroft.
I was sorry. I just tried to find a place to interject where I could, and I stopped for a second to look and try to find the hand raising thing on my phone. Anyway, I know the financial situation we're in, and looking to protect as much of the academic program as possible. So I get why this has become a necessity. I also understand sort of the social emotional benefits of being involved in teams and whatnot. Is this contemplated as a sort of a stopgap measure until there is another override, at which point it may revert back, or is this contemplated as a permanent change going forward? And again, also thinking about, I know we have programs for families that can't afford this. I'm not sure everyone would always take advantage of that, but I'd also love to see us monitor the people who have been participating, who suddenly stop participating as a result of this, to see if we can, have the least impact on people. I do applaud the keeping programs in place, but I'm just wondering, is this sort of a until the next override, or is it permanent? And do we have some thinking in place for how we make sure that it's still equitable, not just the people that can afford the bump, but everyone who sees this as important to their child's development is able to participate?
It's a great question.
That's a lot.
I would say, first of all, I'd say two things. One, you are not making a decision today. The committee has brought this to you as a recommendation. We felt it was important for you to see it, have a conversation about it, and then have some time to think it through. We'll likely find a way to get some feedback as we go through, but we would need to bring this back to you relatively soon so that we can set the fees for next year. So secondly, I would just say we review fees every year, as you know, and if we were in a situation where, or if there were funds specifically designated in another override to reduce fees, or in athletics or other activities or transportation, then obviously we would review that as part of that funding source. But we do review every year, and so obviously nobody wants to be raising fees at all. But to your point, this is kind of the situation we're in right now.
Okay, so we may be able to revert back, it sounds like.
Yeah, if the funding were put into the override and designated for it, when we were clear about it, then yeah, I would say yes.
So if I may jump in, that would be something that we would have to prioritize as a committee as part of that budget process and what the override package would look like, right?
Correct. I mean, at least in my opinion, that's
Yes,
correct.
Yeah. Yes.
So we would have to decide that that's something that we want to include in the budget. And I will just take the liberty of saying right now that I think it's, I think we should use this time to figure out what a package would look like for our next override as quickly as possible. Because the reality is that, at least in my opinion, this is only me speaking, not as chair of the committee, and certainly not in any capacity except my own. But my concern is that if we wait too long to try and figure out whether there's another model of override that works for a majority of members of the community, then we could put ourselves in a position where we actually have to make much more drastic and impactful cuts to the district for next year. because we just don't have an assurance of funding in sufficient time to be able to make those changes. We certainly have seen that in other districts where they've waited a little too long. And the reality of the budget cycle and the fact that we're not driving a speedboat, we're driving something more akin to an ocean liner. It's very hard if you don't know that the community's will is to provide supplemental funding. You really do have to move forward with even more cuts in the event that the ocean liner is not turned from a budget standpoint in time. So to Mr. Hopcroft's point, I think this is it's a sad situation that we're in, an unfortunate situation we're in. And also we need to move relatively quickly to make sure that our ocean liner, if we are going to get supplemental funding for the next budget year, the ocean liner needs to, in my opinion, at least start to turn more quickly in order to be able to allow us to plan for and construct a budget that reflects more funding rather than the more drastic cuts we would otherwise have to envision for next year. So it's just my little editorial comment.
Can I just comment to say that I wasn't speaking in favor or against whether we make the cut. I was just speaking to say I wanted to understand what the implications are before we make the decision.
Yep, makes sense.
Thanks.
All right, Mr. Belair.
Thanks. Overall, I appreciate the work of the policy or the budget subcommittee to get us to this point. I appreciate Mr. Marion's work. I'm glad that we're protecting the instructional core of the programs we offer. I'm glad that we're protecting athletic programs. These cuts are or not cuts, but these fee increases are very unfortunate. But this is what people voted for with the failed override. My question, I guess, through much of the early 2010s, we charged tickets for attendees at a lot of our athletic events, and I think that could, if we're thinking about a Friday or Saturday night football game, some of our hockey games, basketball games, could be a pretty easy way to fill that, a couple of $1,000s or tens of thousands of dollars that we might still need. So just wanted to see if that's something that's been explored, or if that's something that would be within our purview to instate, or if that's something that the athletic department would have authority to think about, ponder, and implement for some of our higher traffic events to get some more revenue.
I have a question. Who ran those ticket sales? Was it the specific teams? Was it the athletics department?
It was the athletic department. It would have to come through us. And that's part of the challenge, I think, for for example, on the football field, the access points, people could come onto the field from a lot of different directions. So I know that in the past they've had a hard time trying to control the access, and how do you make sure that people are getting a ticket to come in. So, but to answer your specific question, yeah, we've already begun conversations around that. That's still in play, as well as we are going through the budget continuously. If there are some reductions that we can make that aren't impactful to the program, we would be making those as well. The issue we have right now, though, is you're going to have to set these fees, and you're going to have to live with them for next year. And but I think everything we can do to try to come up with some additional offsets, and obviously, as you can see on the recommendation, the fees themselves do not fully cover the deficit.
And if I may, I'll just say also that we are in a position also where we need to do a couple more things soon, and one of them is to first review that, Mr. Belair. It's something that the budget subcommittee discussed, and then we also have to think to some extent about sort of the human resources and programming level. I know this came up already in terms of, are there, Ms. Minyarji asked if there's a threshold below which we would not continue a program. I think we also, as a subcommittee, discussed whether there are, sort of staffing levels, things that we expect within existing programs that may be well enrolled, that just are in excess of what we can handle from a budgetary standpoint. So the committee wanted to prioritize on a shorter to medium term basis, getting the fees in this scenario for next year to be able to close that deficit. But I think we also, and as you know, we're going to be hiring a new athletic director as well. So I think one of the first tasks that I personally would love to work with that individual on when they are hired is to be able to look both at staffing as well as sort of programming and ticket sales, because that's, I think, any additional revenue we can generate, I think is a positive thing for us, as well as, you know, we I think want to do a deeper dive, which takes a little more time than we've had, to actually get to the bottom of, you know, sort of usage of programming and staffing of programming, and make sure that we're in the most optimized place possible. Does Ms. Minyarji, you were part of those discussions as well. Does that accurately reflect what you think we've talked about so far?
Yep. No, that's correct. And I do think that we should start charging for tickets. However, access points are tricky. So we'll have to work
Depending on the venue,
with-
I think at the high school gym, it could be, and I've seen it.
Oh
done.
yeah, at the high school
Fairly
gym, and even
straightforward.
at our hockey arenas that we use, those access points are easy. But anything like soccer, lacrosse, football at the field, that's a little bit more tricky. So.
Yeah. So I think the way I was thinking about it so far is sort of an opportunistic approach, and sort of, you know, the fee differences that we've proposed are sort of phase one. I would say that phase two and beyond really looks at least a trio of issues, if not more, that I just outlined, right? So ticket prices, and ticketing for entry, as well as staffing levels, and then of course the prior question that came up around programming usage that Ms. Minyarji brought up. So those are sort of the three things that are in my mind as phase two and beyond. Certainly, I think we'll continue this conversation, and would appreciate if the committee, especially those of you that have secondary kids, if there's anything else that you can think of that we might add to that list of phase two discussion points. Ms. Bolognese has been waiting for a long time, so I will bring you into the conversation now.
Oh, sure. I probably should have piped up on the ticket sales, because I was also thinking about ticket sales. I do remember when they were charged at the football games. But then when I actually had a high schooler, I was pleasantly surprised, I guess, that there weren't charges on going to the football games. But then I have noticed that for the away games, there's typically like a $7 entry fee that's charged at some of the away football, well, at all of nearly all the away football games that I've ever been to. And it seemed as if they were parents who were manning the entry points. I don't know if that's, and doing the ticket sales, I don't know if that's always the case, but I know that at Winchester, or over at the, behind the high school, it always seems to have been staff that I've seen. And then I have never been particularly sure where the fees go to. I wasn't sure if that was something that it just goes back to MIAA. I never knew why we did not charge fees, but other schools started charge fees, and why it always seemed to be $7. So that's just my thought on the fees. And I was wondering, with respect to these fees, well, one thing I was going to say was, I am relieved to hear that we've been able so far to be able to protect the different programs, well, our programs in general, but then also within the high school sports to be able to protect the programs so far. But I do recognize that there's further study that has to go on that. I was wondering if we had talked with the athletic director thus far on just on their take on the fees and the facility fees.
I'll let Dr. Hackett take that one. I know that it's obviously an interesting situation because we have a departing athletic director, but I know that we've discussed at least conversations you and Mr. Marin have had with Mr. Aria.
So short answer is we have talked. We've had conversations in prior years about fees. So I think, you know, I think of representing some of the challenges that we face. We've not gone into level detail as if like, how would we implement? Would we have parent volunteers? I don't know if Mr. Marin can answer the question as to where those funds would go. I think, you know, part of the challenge with having volunteers, parent volunteers, actually work the ticket booth, so to speak, is you also have crowd control, and you know, knowing the students when they come in, who they are, and the students knowing who the person is when they come through is valuable, I think, in those situations. So, and I'm sorry, your other question was related to.
Oh, I thought it was talking with the current athletic director, but maybe you already said that. I guess I was just wondering if there was some opinion on the amount of the facility charges or, yeah.
Andrew can speak to that.
Yeah, I can add, in speaking with Mr. Oria, he's been in favor of implementing these fees and helped identify which sports would be best to start with. I know anywhere where we charge those gate fees, access fees now, if we have staff involved, we have to pay them. If we have parent volunteers, we can certainly leverage that in the future. But yeah, it has been on the table, something we're looking at how to implement. And part of it, we were sort of waiting for the gymnasium being completed. Now that redesign allows us to have a lot more like larger capacity events and multiple events going on. So now it's sort of worthwhile to bring that back and look at it. So.
Oh, especially if we ever end up being like a venue for some of the MIAA
championships.
Yeah, championships, postseason stuff. That would be great.
And then Jim can has the capacity to do that. So we meet the standards MIA sets. Not to get carried away, but I do think there's some profit money making, I should say, opportunities with the new gymnasium configuration.
Yes, I think so too. And then I guess I was just wondering, well, I know that we're not taking it up for a vote today and that we're looking more towards mid-June. But I was wondering, and I think Dr. Hackett, you had mentioned getting feedback, and I guess I was just wondering what the communication plan was for letting people know about the new fees.
I'm happy to take that. I'm happy to take that one. I see Ms. Minyarji, you have your hand up as well, but let me just, so I want to say three things. First of all, to Ms. Bolognesi's comment about collecting fees. I mean, I know it's a different situation, but at least our club team for gymnastics, first of all, there's an expectation that every attendee, including children, including our 4 last year and 5-year-old this year attending, pays $20 to enter every gymnastics competition. And obviously that's a sport specific thing that, you know, in this case, it's not a school-based thing. But that's sort of just part of going to meets, which I've always found interesting, that it's a $60 affair when we go to see our son. But such is the way things are in that world. It's always done by parent volunteers. So certainly I think, you know, our first, if we were going to charge fees, I think our first try would be to solicit either family or student volunteers to help us with collecting that to reduce the cost of having to hire someone outside. But it certainly is. I mean, I find it really interesting that there is this sort of $7 expectation in places where they do charge fees. And certainly, you know, I think to Mr. Belair's point earlier as well, it sort of behooves us to look into that and see if we can kind of get on that track as well. The second thing I wanted to say is around the sort of communication plan and next steps. I think obviously it's our goal to vote this at potentially our next meeting. Ms. Minyarji and Dr. Hackett and Mr. Marin and I had discussed at Budget Sub yesterday the idea that we might have either a public hearing regarding this at our next meeting or a public comment, you know, just sort of a notification to the community through our communication channels so that folks are aware of it. It doesn't come as a surprise and they are able to come and share their thoughts with us. So we are investigating the best methodology, the best modality for us to do that potentially at our next meeting or the meeting after, depending on exactly what happens. It's not likely. I know we are very likely to have to meet on another matter at a virtual meeting this coming Monday. I don't anticipate that's going to be when we do it, which is why I said it's not likely to necessarily be our next meeting, but our next regular meeting, whenever that shall be. And I think that covered your questions. But the last thing I just wanted to say is this is just to be totally clear with folks so that everybody understands. The base fee is $600. That would apply per student per sport. And then there would be surcharges for the high cost sports, just to be clear. So the sort of modal student, the average student you're pulling out would be at that $600 level. So maybe Mr. Marin, probably we should add a row to this, which is, every other sport that's not hockey, swimming, tennis, golf, and skiing, where it would be $600 per student. So there's no facility fee for the other sports at this time. So the sort of modal student will experience a 50% increase. It's only for those high facility usage, high facility cost sports, where we've had to offset the cost of that by adding the facility usage fee. So it will really only apply, the largest increase will only be for the students who are participating in those 5 high facility usage cost sports. So it's not that $1,445 is charged per student with no cap for every sport. It's just for those in hockey, since we do not have our own facility at the high school or in any of our WPS buildings. And so it costs us, as I'm sure you all know, quite a lot of money to rent the ice time at external rinks, both for practice as well as for our games. So I really want to just reiterate that we've, Ms. Minyarji can attest, and Dr. Hackett and Mr. Marin, we've gone back and forth on this. We've asked for more information multiple times, tried to make this as equitable as possible, and make sure that, this is really reflecting the totality of our external facility costs, because we, obviously want to be able to close the deficit, but also want to make sure it's as fair as possible, that there's not a sport that's missed. And so Mr. Marin has gone through to the extent that it is possible, and really looked at where we're cutting checks, how much those checks are, and then tried to distribute them as equitably as possible. And of course, I'll just end by noting that if there's a family that has financial hardship, it will remain our policy. It's in our sports handbook right now, but it will remain our policy that any family who's experiencing financial need or pressure from the change in these fees can go to our athletic director, whoever that person may be next year, and also get a waiver for any fees that would cause the family a financial hardship. So that process will remain in place. Ms. Bolognese, do you still have a question with your hand up?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I never lowered it. I did wonder with one of Mr. Marin's later comments that we of course don't know what this will do to the level of participation. So what if we have a big drop off in participation because of this?
Let's not go there.
Okay.
We could, if we'll let you know if we're seeing that, but
Because I wouldn't want to artificially drop our participation in certain sports and then suddenly say that, oh, we want to cut those sports.
I think it's hard to deal in hypotheticals. We don't know what
Yes,
the
that's
impact of
right.
this will be. Right. So
Lots of
but we will
hypotheticals.
keep a close eye on it.
Yeah.
So I've had
And
my
I would also, just my last comment was,
No, it's
and
okay.
just with what everybody else was saying about, I am concerned about the family, that just making sure that it's clear to families that if they need financial assistance on this because it is a hardship, then they can always reach out. So, thank you.
I just wanted to note that when we started this exercise, the first thing we did was check out what our peer towns were doing. And a lot of these fee updates are basically what our peer towns, our identified peer towns, are doing as well, to make them more aligned with rate, the athletic fees that they're charging. So that was we didn't pick these numbers out of nowhere. That was the first step, was, well, what is everyone else doing? And then we went through this exercise. Regarding, so the highest facility is hockey, right? So charging fees, maybe that'll be the first place. Entry point's not a concern. We can get the PFA to help out. And it can probably help offset some of those facility rates. But that's just throwing that idea out there if we want to just start, just at least for that facility, because it's the most expensive one.
Any other questions on this? Just mindful that we're at 12:52 and we still have an executive session and one more agenda item. There is no vote, as Dr. Hackett said today. We are not anticipating taking a vote on this until after whatever public feedback forum we plan takes place, and then the committee will take a vote on implementing these for the 2026-27 school year, starting in the fall. Thank you all for your robust participation and the discussion around that. I think this is going to be an item of a lot of discussion with the community. And so I'm glad to have you all involved in the conversation now after the tremendous amount of work that's happened through Budget Subcommittee. All right, moving along to item 5C. Dr. Hackett, I know you have just a brief update on our projected enrollment situation for 2026-27.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Yes, so we are, as you know, we have been, we actually implemented a wait list for all grade levels, all schools, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We've actually gained about 59 kids since early April. That actually nets out to be fairly flat at the elementary level, but at the secondary, at the high school level specifically, it does increase our enrollment over what we were projecting, although it's manageable at this point. We're really exploring, particularly we have grades 4 and 5 that we are concerned about at both at Lynch as well as VO. And we are keeping an eye on that. We will be making some decisions. Our hope is to at least release or let parents know in those places where we're comfortable at certain grade levels to be able to say, you're off the wait list, you're all set. And as at the same time, simultaneously having some conversations with some families about the possibility of them being districted elsewhere, which we would provide transportation to. And we're also considering, and perhaps as early as next week, approaching the incoming grade 4 and 5 students at those two schools, those families, and asking them if they were given an opportunity to have their child go to a different school, would they voluntarily want to do that? I could see a scenario where that might be the case. We do have some, as you know, some of our districting and is a little bit funky. We have, students who are in some cases districted to a school and they are closer to another school by, actually in some cases by quite a bit. So those are the things that we're exploring right now. And then we will kind of restart the wait list as after we make those decisions. So I'll keep you posted. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, if you have any questions, please let Dr. Hackett know. All right, seeing none. I will move on to agenda item 6, which is our committee appointments. We have 2 appointments that I am aware of that we need to make. As you know, we're sort of in the process of doing this as spring marches along. The first appointment is we at Springtown meeting, a seat appointed by the school committee was added to the EFPBC. And so this is a chair appointment, but obviously with the consent of the committee. So with all of your approval, I've decided this is one of those really fun and awkward conversations. I've decided to appoint myself as the school committee member to EFPBC for the time being. So as long as you are all in favor of that, I will enter that second seat. If my understanding is based on what transpired at town meeting, this means that moving forward, the school committee will have 2 appointments to that group, in addition to Mr. Marin now having been appointed as well, and Dr. Hackett being a continuing member. So we'll sort of have 4 representatives from the school committee. 2 will be at our discretion, and then the 2 will be the person occupying the superintendent's role, as well as the director of finance and operations role, or whatever its successor may be down the line. But sort of at this point, we'll have 2 staff as well as 2 appointments to make. If another seat were to open, my thought is, unless there's the burning desire by a member of the committee to serve on EFPBC alongside me, we would probably put together a community recruitment process and appointment process for that second seat. Right now, obviously, Mr. Nixon continues in that role, but should that ever change, I would not necessarily anticipate that would be a second committee member moving forward, unless it's the will of the school committee to appoint a second school committee member. It sort of feels like we our goal in working with the select board on that change, and then of course the amendment from Ms. Von Meering on the floor of town meeting was to really just make sure that we were in statutory compliance with the MSBA in terms of having a building committee that has a sitting school committee member on it. Should that ever change in the future, obviously Mr. Nixon's appointment is coming up at some point in the next 12 months. We will then decide at that time how we would like to move forward with that community-based appointment. So with that, I think really it's just maybe we'll take a vote of the committee at the end of this, but just to make sure that it's fully approved. But that's the update on EFPBC committee appointment. We've also had the select board has reached out to us that they would like us to make sure that we have an appointment to the, I'm going to get the name of this incorrect rather. So, but the Retiree Health Insurance Advisory Committee, or REAC, RHIAC. Thank you. I see Ms. Mignardi is giving me the thumbs up, which we have not filled in quite some time, but there are issues related to OPEB retiree benefits that will be coming before that committee of the town. We have an appointment to that as well. Given the fact that she has worked on these issues previously, I asked Ms. Mignardi if she would be willing to serve as our representative to that. I believe that she was at least willing to take that on for the time being. She's obviously been the person who's continuously helped out with our budget and state of the town work. So that is the appointment that I intend to forward over to the select board with your approval as well. So those are our two.
And I may add, Mr. Chair, Dr.
Yes.
Chair, we also need a staff member on RHIAC.
That's right. So I will work with Dr. Hackett on that one as well. But Dr. Hackett, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. We had some discussion, but I will admit that I forgot to follow up with you in advance of this meeting regarding that issue. So, I think there was some discussion of voluntelling a certain person who oversees our finance and HR efforts right now at the staff level to do that. But I obviously don't want to put you in the position of asking someone to do that without their consent. So
It's much to your surprise. There's not a huge call and demand to be on it. So it's not like we have to vet through a lot of volunteer interest right now. We will figure it out. We've been asked to do that prior years. It's just a matter of time, obviously. So we understand the requirement. We've yet to fulfill it, but we'll try to take care of that.
Right. So just in the interest of, I want to do this the same way we've done the prior ones. So I would accept a motion to ratify, to support the appointments of the chair regarding these two committees of the town.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Motion by Ms. Bolognese, second by Ms. Mignardi. We'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Belair.
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft. I think we may have lost Mr. Hopcroft.
We did. He had to drop off at 1.
Oh, got it. Okay. Ms. Bolognese, sorry.
Aye.
Ms. Mignardi.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So we are 4-0 unanimous for that vote for the purposes of record keeping. At this time, we've come to the end of our business agenda. We are posting a meeting for next Monday, I believe at 4 p.m. And there will be a twofold purpose of that. One for our public hearing on school choice, which is legally required to be in before June 1st. As well as an executive session also with purpose 3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. So with that, we are going to move into executive session. Today's executive session is also for purpose 3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as the chair has declared that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the committee. So I would accept a motion to move directly into executive session and to adjourn without coming back into public session from there.
So moved.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
I will accept Ms. Bolognese as the motion and Ms. Mignardi as the second. We'll take a roll call vote. All in favor, Mr. Belair.
Aye.
Ms. Bolognese.
Aye.
Ms. Mignardi.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. So we are moving into executive session. Thank you to WinCam, to the community, and everybody on the committee for your excellent work on a Thursday afternoon. Dr. Hackett, I believe you've already sent out the executive session link. So if you could all just find that in your email boxes, and we will reconvene there in a minute or two. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.